I know that voice.
Are we guilty of arousing your rage? Did we do it? Speak with your tongue of fire, Lord. Purge us with unrelenting justice. Send us a sign. Is this our doing? Are you punishing us for our arrogance? Unleash your thunderous voice, Lord. Release us from this intolerable uncertainty. Did we do it? Send us a sign.
I'm getting a strong impression that man's a fanatic and a little bit deranged. But his sermon made me curious. What could he mean by, we did it?
Did we do it? Are we the guilty ones?
Ecco un altro flash.
Oh no. Here comes that sensation again. It's like floating in a dense liquid, while everything around me is transformed.
Comunque solo la vecchia è rimasta.
Good God, I think I'm starting to lose my mind. A few parishioners listened to the words of the preacher, mesmerized. Although I'm sure that, like me, they can't decipher the meaning of his mystical rants either. Seated on these disarranged pews, some people are listening to the preacher. Others just nod off. I guess they don't have anywhere else to go.
Send us a sign.
The remains of the stained glass window that went with the intact one on the other side of the door of the church. The great wave must have shattered it. In fact, there are still a few glass shards scattered on the floor.
I frammenti non possono... Ah sì. Raccogliamo frammenti di vetro.
They come from one of the church's broken stained glass windows. They're pretty and eye-catching, and have a nice variety of colors. The only statue in this place still standing. It's Saint... what's his name? Patron saint of... who knows what? I'm afraid that if I ever was a believer, all that information has also been blanked. The only statue in this place still standing. It's... what's his name?
Did we do it? Are we the guilty
This
ones?
column fragment must have fallen off one of the walls during the catastrophe. Now it's keeping the pedestal of the statue company. I'm not going to interrupt him in the middle of his sermon. That would be rude.
The lion above the flames. We still have time.
This enormous stone cross casts a giant shadow across the aisle of the church. Perhaps that wasn't the original intention, but the result is pretty gloomy and menacing.
Did we do it? Are we the guilty ones?
No, bisogna sempre fare attenzione che ci sono magari dei posti dove si può passare ma non si vedono subito. La scultura.
Considering the condition of the rest of the church, it's amazing that the stained glass window is still in place and practically intact. Such little light that gets in from the street gives it a ghostly appearance.
Allora, col tipo non posso parlare, ho preso solo scheggi di vetro. Potremmo andare a destra. Allora facciamo un po' di osservazione.
It's one of the ways into the city's sewer system. The Great Wave wrecked this place. Did the same thing happen down there?
Ah, c'è già il centro medico.
It's rather disconcerting to see such a small building surrounded by such extreme security measures. Could this be the medical center people have been telling me about? Closed for public health reasons is written on this piece of wood nailed to the stump. Wait a minute. Health with no A? A piece of wood with a handwritten sign. Judging from the handwriting, I assume the author of the message was one of those animals in uniform. The nails that held up the sign announcing the closure of Suicide Park. They're incredibly rusty. But considering the epidemic of the dissolved, tetanus is the least of my worries at the moment.
Allora abbiamo un po' recuperato qualcosa, fontana di pietra.
A bucolic fountain covered with ivy and moss. The park's desolation gives it an air of mystery from the side of the fence. In its day, it must have been home to a school of goldfish, which I suppose are now gradually decomposing inside it. Southside Park. Would you believe it? This must be the famous Suicide Park I've been hearing so much about. Huh. The pun is as witty as it is macabre. The park is closed down, and the front gate is locked shut. If I want to get in there, it won't be through the gate.
Andiamo al tombino.
So, let's see. Impossible. It's not that it's super heavy. It's that there's hardly any place to insert your fingers to lift this manhole cover. This plank doesn't quite fit anywhere.
Ecco, è l'ora di fare un po' ricerca. Al centro medico niente.
A metal sign bolt, and from what use this here? How?
Vediamo.
Strange. The soil here seems darker and less packed than the soil around it. In fact, the mud in this part of the ground is a bit damp and mushy. My fingers even leave marks in it when I touch it. One area has looser, mushy... My fingers sink into the mud. If I want to dig deeper, this plank won't help me. I need something sharper.
Allora abbiamo trovato che terreno umido, fontana.
You can smell these dead creatures from several yards away.
Pesci.
I have no intention of picking up those rotten fish with my hands, to say nothing of putting them in my pocket.
This entrance is reserved for authorized motor vehicles only. Get away from it. Move on.
Minchia.
What the hell? Those savages don't get around. I'd better avoid getting too close to that area, at least on foot. Judging from its girth, this giant must have lived for hundreds of years before someone got the bright idea of cutting it down. Now the stump is guarding the entrance to the park. The park is closed. If I want to... This thick wall of trees goes from one end of the compound to the other. It's so dense that you can hardly see anything through it. Who the hell would think to build these facilities without clearing the lot first?
Allora vediamo, chiodi.
The catastrophe caused a lot of damage to the statue's pedestal. The fact that the statue is still standing is a miracle.
The thunderous voice of your angel.
The catastrophe is a miracle.
That is your sign.
Let's see. If I wedge one of the ends of the plank under the statue's pedestal, the other part will rest directly on the base of the toppled column.
Illuminate us with your fiery voice,
The catastrophe
Lord.
caused a lot of
Send
damage
us
to the statue's
a
pedestal is a
sign.
miracle.
We're waiting, Lord. Did we do it? Illuminate us. Send us a sign with your just and vengeful arm. Is this our fault? Listen! It's the fiery breath of God. The Lord has sent us his sign. And I was right. It is all our fault. We did it, and we have aroused his fury.
What the hell's going on here?
Look, that's the sign. Forgive us, Lord. Forgive us. Repent, all ye sinners.
It's the atmospheric phenomenon I've been hearing so much about. That infernal sound coming from the crack in the sky. It's terrifying.
That is the sign. We did it. Forgive us, Lord. Forgive us. My children, God has spoken to us with his darkest voice. Haven't you heard him? But there's still time. All is not lost. We still have time. Salvation lies in the place where it all began, in the ruins, at the source. We must return to the ruins of the temple. We must return. We must.
Ok, adesso penso che potremo parlare con Reverendo. Qui la statua l'abbiamo fatta cadere.
Wow, look at that. Next to this enormous hunk of glass, the colored glass shards I picked up earlier look ridiculous. I'd better get rid of them.
Questo potrebbe servire per staccare il cartello o scavare per terra. Possiamo andare a parlare con il Reverendo.
Reverend Blake is totally overwhelmed. It looks like the crack in the sky is having a profound effect on him. The man's message intrigues me. We did it. We did it.
Andiamo a parlare con il Reverendo.
Hello. I heard your sermon and...
Yeah, God has shown us his sign. He has finally spoken to all of us. With his thunderous voice, he has revealed the unknown. We did it. It's all our fault. We did it. But there's still time. All is not lost. There's still time to avoid it. The head of the lion above the flames holds the key to everything.
But what is it we did?
Time's the will of God. It is his heart and his hammer. The centuries and the ages belong solely to him. The celestial empire is a divine clock. Time rotates around God. Its hands are his angels and archangels. Now I see it all clearly. How could we have been so stupid? Our arrogance had enraged him. That's what we did.
This man is definitely crazy. Nothing he says makes any sense.
I beg you, leave my brother in peace. He's very upset.
Tell me, what is it that we can still prevent?
The wrath of God, the destruction of man. There's still time. We did it, but we still have time. The key is in the ruins of the temple. We have to find the ruins of the temple. Look for the head of the lion above the flames. Bring me the head of the lion above the flames while there's still time.
But this church is already in ruins. It hardly has any walls or a foundation left. You're already in the ruins of the temple.
No, you're mistaken. Bring me the head of the lion above the flames.
That's enough. Stop tormenting my brother. He's exhausted.
The head of the lion above the flames? That sounds absurd. It makes no sense. Tell me, what is it that we can still prevent?
The wrath of God.